sisters, Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Mullah Sahib, I am grateful to you for giving our community this opportunity today for interviewing you about various aspects. And I'm sure the whole community will leave tonight having learned something from your vast experience over the years. Mullah Sahib, with your consent, I will base this interview in three stages. The first one will be on your youth and development. Second one will be the community needs now and in future. And lastly, some current and relevant issues close to our global community members' heart, if I may. Now, you were born in the 30s and raised in Mombasa. How was your childhood in terms of environment and education, background? How did you develop?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. I thought you were going to ask me about the community affairs alone. You are coming very close to my home. But anyway, I was born in Mombasa in Kenya in 1936 on 25th of November on a Wednesday morning. And well, my father, as you know, himself had been a religious scholar, and my grandfather also from my mother's side. They're both religious people and scholars. My father had studied for some time in Lucknow as well. So the environment at home was not only religious, but it was inclined towards studies and being scholastic and all that all the time. Mombasa offered unique opportunity for anyone who wanted to learn Arabic because Mombasa was full of Arabic ulama. You see, because Arabs had ruled the whole coastal strip, starting from Zanzibar. And in those days, those of us who were East Africa then would remember, elderly people, the ulama did not come mainly from Lucknow or from Pakistan. Most of them came from Iraq and also from Iran, mainly from Najaf and Karbala. The result was that men like myself, who was interested in studies, had a diverse opportunity if he wanted to avail of it. So I did not go to Maulanas to pass their time or to pass my time. I went there always half an hour or three-quarters of an hour before people assembled to talk and all that. From the ulama of Iraq and Iran, I learned Persian and I also learned Farsi. I started my Farsi class with Mulla Asgharali. He was my teacher. And Urdu I learned from my father. Fiqh, the beginning of fiqh. I learned from Mulla Asgharali.
What age was this?
I started studying. I completed my Quran and Majid at the age of 7. But then, of course, I continued studying. Then we had Maulana Aqaida Sahib Qibla Marhum, Maulana Ayub Hussain Naqvi and others from whom I studied up to Kifaya, which was quite advanced studies. Arabic I learned from my Sunni scholars, Sunni tutors. And I gave my exam in Arabic on 21st of September in 1956 to the Qadi of Kenya, Sheikh Ali Badawi, Sayyid Ali Badawi rather, 56. But thereafter it was all interest and inclination towards studies, reading. I am one of those young men of this community who have been totally deprived of sports. I neither played nor displayed any interest in it. So while I had good friends who used to go and learn and play also, I seldom accompanied them to the club or a sports ground. I was all the time busy reading and all that. As far as my secular education is concerned, I am a senior Cambridge failure. That means I sat an exam up to senior Cambridge, but I passed only in English language and mathematics. and Urdu, and all the rest of the subjects I failed, and I failed miserably. So
Cambridge being what? O-level
at that
exam.
time, senior Cambridge is today is O level, or it had another equivalent called matriculation. So this is the brief outline of my educational attainment.
You mentioned about your youth and how you're deprived from sports. Now the youth is a time with a lot of distraction. How, if at all, it distracted you in those days compared to the distraction that we see
Of
in
course,
our youth
yes,
today?
distraction is the time. Youths always get distracted. But when your parents take interest in your life, then you are not exposed to distraction. My father took keen interest in my life and disciplined me a lot. He wouldn't allow me, for example, in the evenings to go to the club or to play. He would say, you come forward for a walk with me. So at 5 o'clock when he closed his shop, he would go walking. And I used to be there. And he never went alone. He used to go with Mulla Asgharali, Haji Muhammad Ali Megji, Sheikh Sadiq Ali Marhum, one of the ulama. And I would be there, struggling to be with them, you see. And even if we went to the mosque, for example, on a night like this where there was food served or anything, he wouldn't allow me to sit with the friends. So you sit with me. Now those are the things which may seem out of order and may seem even odd. But these things helped me a lot from distractions and from wasting my time. That taught me how to put every minute of my life to good use. The day I die, I hope I'll be able to tell my Creator that I have spent a full life. I don't waste my time. But this is all my parents' interest and my mother. My mother was my first tutor. She enabled me to complete Quran Majid at the age of 7.
Do you feel you missed all those good times?
Miss what?
The distraction of those times?
Well, you know, I'll tell you one thing, Salim, that while you people normally discuss youths as young men, I discuss youths as a phase of life. I'm a bit abstract about it. Because youths, yesterday I was a member of that class, and I passed through it. My sons are now youths of today. Within 5 or 10 years, they'll become elderly people, and their sons will become youths. So when we talk about youth, youth in English language means a phase of life, and it also means a young man who is a youth. I don't take this as members of that particular phase. I would like to address the problem of the phase itself. For example, when I was in Mombasa, the distractions were too many. Though they were different from what we have in England or America. And one could easily be laid away. But at the same time, there were some good controls by the Jamaat also. For example, Mombasa is a place, those who know will vouch, Mombasa is a place where there was a majlis every night. So if anybody wanted to pass his time well, if he has got nothing to do else, he would go to Imam Bargah, majlis is there. And not only that, but Mombasa being the port, and in those days ulama came from India, they came by boat. So every week we had new alim there in Mombasa, 1, 2, 3 or more, to be posted later on to other Jamaat, but they would break the journey in Mombasa. And then, of course, they'll be requested to read Majalis and all this. So we had a number of Maulanas as our guests also in Mombasa Jamaat. So there was a diversity. But we had also very good club. I don't consider club as a distraction because it actually saved our youths from so many pitfalls.
Club, you mean sports club, where they used to go and play volleyball and...
The one which is in Mombasa. I don't mean pubs, I mean clubs. The Jaffer Sports Club, for example, or maybe in Dar es Salaam you have National Union, but you don't have the sports ground for your own. But in Mombasa, our elders can just see how far-sighted they were. They bought that land. They didn't buy, but they leased that land from Mombasa Municipal Council in 1921 for the purpose of sports club, and it is still there. Now you can imagine thousands and thousands of boys must have played there. We produce tennis champions, we produce best cricket players, all from the club. And those young men who went to the club, they were saved from other. Those who did not go to the club were seen either playing cards, gambling here and there, a little bit of value, very little percentage. But therefore, that's why I said I am deprived, because I would have loved to go in open air to go and play. But at that time, my mindset was such that I have to achieve something else. That is how it is.
You mentioned about the youth going to the club. Now in this country, it's very difficult to get something of that sort, although we're all trying.
What?
Of trying to find a sports club or something where the children can gather in the evenings.
Salim, there is nothing difficult in this country. We are difficult people. There is nothing difficult.
In the absence of
There is enough money here, Salim. What is required is intention and realization by all of us that sports facilities are of utmost importance for those who are passing through it. It is said that the Battle of Waterloo was won on the grounds of Eton. That means disciplinarians were created on sports grounds. We were supposed to cultivate sportsman's spirit. What does that mean? A sportsman's spirit is what? Is to be able to take defeat gracefully and also to win gracefully, right? That is called sportsmanship spirit. And in English language, if I remember correctly, any deal or transaction which is supposed to be absolutely foolproof and honest is called cricket. When two business people sit down to sign and they say, now, gentlemen, this is cricket, that means there is no cheating in it. Right? So you can imagine that. Is it difficult to buy? When this Imam Bargah was not bought, it was difficult. You ask Marhum who have gone by and those who are alive also, as to how difficult it was. Alhamdulillah, how many years now? And so was Stanmore. So to find a good ground and to allow our people to work in the vicinity of our Imam Bargah and to spend some money on it and raise a good sports house there where our young men come and play. And to fix some days fixtures for women alone to be able to play in hijab and all that. It's something not very difficult.
Inshallah, with your blessings, we'll achieve.
I'm just waiting for a committee to come and do that. Either yours or the one which follows. See, because this will be one of those steps which we need. Healthy minds reside in healthy bodies, my friend.
Inshallah. When was the first time when you became aware that you started doing the Jamaat work? And at what stage did you start?
In 1951, at the age of 15. I started serving our community at the age of 15 in 1951 with the blessings of Marhum Ghulam Abbas Kasmani, Father al-Mawji. May Allah bless his soul. He took me into Shnashi Young Men's Union, which was a committee of the union, and made me a member of it. He was the chairman, and Marhum Pyar Ali Ballu was the secretary. 2 years later, I became secretary of the entire Shnashi Young Men's Union. That was in 1953. By 1956, I was Secretary General of the Joint Managing Committees of both the Jamaats. In 1959, I became the Secretary of the Shnashi Education Board, running the school. By 1962, I was the President of Bustani Jamaat. And in 1965, I was the Secretary General of the Africa Federation. and remained in that office, and I became president of Africa Federation in 1973 when Haji Muhammad Ali Milki died in office, and remained president till 1979. In 1976, I came to this country to start World Federation, and I am the founder, president of the World Federation. And in 1982, I became the guest of Saddam Hussein for 4 months and 4 days, together with my wife. And when we were released with your du'as, I came to England and I stayed here. So I have come here on 12th of April, Tuesday, 1983. That was the day I arrived in England to stay. So if you calculate now from 1915 to 1998, from the age of 15 to age of 62 today, by the grace of Allah, I have had an incessant, unbroken record of serving our community in one capacity or the other.
How do you do it? We are tired in 9 months.
Well, by the time of 9 months elapsed, you must give birth. Well, the question is not like that. Don't you think that we have had smooth sailing period? We had difficulties, we had ups and downs, we had opposition, we had problems. Some of the problems, if I write my history, if I write my autobiography, oh, somebody cares to write my biography. Some of the opposition that we have had, you will never imagine, you will never have, inshallah. The sufferings that we have had. We were not even family men, in the sense that although I was married, I don't remember to have taken my children out on any weekend for an outing. I don't, because there was no time for them. Always meetings, you know. So we had difficulties, we had opposition. But the secret of loving the community are two. I'm going to give the secret to you. One is that you must have the love for your community. Love. If you don't love the community and think these are all opposing, then there's no need. Why waste my time? I'm better off at home. Love for them. The second thing is that, Salim, the genius of life lies in knowing what to ignore. Remember, if you give importance to everything that happens around you, you will die soon. You must know what to ignore, what to overlook. So there are things we ignore and overlook. And that is how, alhamdulillah, the community has been with us, and we are, alhamdulillah, serving. You should not get tired, 9 months or one term. Continue.
Inshallah. Looking at you obviously gives us strength. Now let's discuss the community generally. You have, as you mentioned, about your, before I get to that, one thing is legendary is that your power of memory. You seem to remember names, like I was in Toronto recently with you at the conference, and somebody you hadn't met for many years, but straight away you remembered his name, and his child's name as well was standing next to him. Is there certain du'as that we have to recite, or I've got tired of eating badams now, so I don't know if anything is going to help me.
Well, I consider that is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That not only that, I don't forget even the book I read, the page number, the lines and all that. I once having read it is in my mind. That of course is a gift from Allah, for which I have to thank Him. Secondly, see, when I was in the school, our teacher used to have one class specifically set aside for memorizing the poetry. These days it is out. The schools believe that these poetries are useless and all that. But for example, we used to remember Tennyson, his poetry. Into the Valley of Death, March 600. We knew that. And then we memorized so many poems. Gujarati was also one of those things. My own singular, and I was alone in that, was interest in Urdu literature and Persian literature and Arabic literature. Our teachers used to say, I remember them. Ghalib, you must remember, Iqbaliyat, you must remember. When I used to study Persian and Arabic grammar, they used to have whole book in poetry containing Arabic grammar. So you remember the grammar by remembering the couplets. And there are two types. One was Alfiya ibn Malik. Alfiya ibn Malik was 1,000 couplets. And there was one of Hariri, which has 400. So I took the softer option, and I remember only 400. And I remember when my teacher used to say, sit down and say, come on, now read. Now I would ask him which chapter you would like to read, and read the chapter on that particular subject. So you got to read, and he would remember. كلما رب عليه تدخلوا فإنه منكر يا رجل. That is how we used to say it. And the teacher would of course, in those days they used Bokora. See, there was no compassion for any mistake. If you made any mistake, you had one on your back. See. So this is how it was. That was a training, I believe. It must have given an impetus. The second thing is this: once I see a man and he tells me what is his name, and he tells me what is his son's name, that's over. It is fine. When I see him over 20 years, I might make a mistake between Riyaz and Rizwan, for example. He is maybe Rizwan and I'm calling him Riyaz or Riyaz. That sort of slight error can occur. But otherwise there is no...
You don't use any formal techniques like they say you should remember a joke or a painting or a
Well,
picture
those
or
are very
something.
useful techniques like association of mind. They're very good and they should be adopted by people. Those who have weaker memories, they can do that. That is for them who wish to get to better memory. But may I also tell you that there is a hadith by the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam that to read as much of Ayatul Kursi as possible. Ayatul Kursi is from Allahu la ilaha illahu up to Al-Azim. The other two ayats, if you read, but it makes it easy from Allahu la ilaha illahu al-hayyul qayyum up to Al-Azim. That is Ayatul Kursi. Read as much as you can, even when you are alone, you are silent, you are working. The memory will be such that people will consider you as wizard or magician. So together with that there is dua also, there is and dawa also.
Now, you had the unique benefit of residing over a community both in Africa and in the Western countries. How do the communities differ in this respect? At the end of the day, we are all from the same stock. How do you feel that our needs are different from Africa to, say, the Western countries?
That's quite obvious. The community is same. But take one example. Now this is our Jamaat from South London. Now I see here people from Uganda. I see here people from Tanzania. I see here people from Mombasa. All in one Jamaat. If they had been in Mombasa, that man would have been in Mombasa, this man would have been elsewhere. Now I see them all put together. So every Jamaat here now is a mixture of people having come from various countries. Kenya had its own problem, Tanzania had its own problem, Zanzibar had its own problem. You see, Uganda had its own. But now people from various sources have come to form one Jamaat. That itself is an admixture of so many things. One thing. And therefore the thinking is slightly at variance from each other. People of Tanzania tend to consider themselves very religious. Whether they are or they are not, Allah knows. But people of Tanzania consider that they are very religious, and people of Uganda are supposed to be jahil. You see, which may not be true. You can't say that, but this is how it is. If you remember, Salim, when we were very young then, we had this problem. By the grace of Allah, we have passed over the problem. We had groups here. Tanzanians and Ugandans, Tanzanians. We had this, like in earlier days, we had Kachi and Kachewari. Yes, here when they came here in the beginning, they had this Tanzanian, Ugandan. Tanzanian, Uganda wala se aega. It was a shameful thing, but of course it has now gone away because it has merged. And I hope it has merged and submerged forever. But the environment has posed problems. When I came here in 1973 for the first time, when Haji Muhammad Ali Megji sent me to visit people in the camps, because our Uganda brothers were still in the camps. Some of them were settled, some of them were not. And I went first to Vienna. 22 kilometers away from Vienna, there was a camp known as Treskilfang. And I sat there and lived there for 4 nights with our Ugandan brothers who were in the camp in 1973. And from there I went everywhere, and when I came to London, all those visits were my first visits to Europe. I did not know. When I saw the snowflake falling in Vienna, I got mad. Never understood what this is. And I had worn summer clothes. I never realized that this was going to happen to me. In those days, there were certain families, religious families of Zanzibar, Uganda, Kampala, Tanganyika, Dar es Salaam, Mombasa. I liked and loved to visit them. And believe me, when I visited those places, I saw something which my eyes saw, but it was difficult to believe. I saw the girls with miniskirts of the homes which always observed hijab. And I saw them sit before the TV dancing to the tune of the pop music in those early days. And I said, Ya Allah, is this what is happening to the community? And Salat and Namaz was considered to be taboo. People openly say that it's not possible to pray. One young man came and told me, Gujarati, he said, madrasa हमने बर्बाद करने की madrasa हमने बर्बाद करी madrasa बर्बाद कर क्या छोकराओं ने मुल्लाओं के नमाज पढ़ो सवाल हमने साली पढ़वी पड़े छे हमने साली नमाज पढ़वी पड़े छे means the children wake up in the morning because they have been taught in the madrasa that please wake up and also wake your father. So he goes and says, Papa, namaz time nahi kare. That man is not used to it. He said, Baba, sardi wo pade, bale sardi pade, tame utho. So he was complaining that those are the thinkings, and much more I cannot reveal, which you must have seen. In 1979, Dr. Sadiq Rahim then, so he was complaining that those are the thinkings, and much more I cannot reveal, which you must have seen. In 1979, Dr. Sadiq Rahim then, as a representative of London Jamaat, proposed a resolution saying that for the coming 10 years, Mullah Sahib, the World Federation must concentrate on building the infrastructure only for the West, like madrasa, imam bargah, masajid. So these are the needs of our people in North America and Europe. For the East, you may do whatever you like helping the poor, welfare, housing scheme, bewa yatim. But for us, this is what we need. Therefore, we concentrated from 1979 to 1989 on providing the infrastructure, where there was nothing. You know that. Alhamdulillah, everywhere now there is Imam Bargah, there is a mosque. By 1989, 1990, I thought we had completed the work. Now, World Federation does not give full amount. The World Federation helps in 2 ways. One, it pays from the funds it has. Secondly, it also allows Sahm Imam under its ijaza to be paid for the project. So you get double benefit.